Got a couple late arrivers, but thanks everyone for spending some time with us here. You know, this should only take 6 or 7 hours. Depending on questions.
You got the 45 minutes, you're going to be by yourself.
Yeah. Just kidding. This should take about an hour. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to share a PowerPoint, and when that happens, you all are going to disappear for the most part from my screen. So, if you have questions, or we need to kind of stop sharing the screen and have a conversation, then just you know, chime in and we'll make that work. Okay. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. Can everybody see this PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so let's see if I can. There we go. So as a, just as a way of a brief introduction, my name is Steve Schneider. I'm the general manager here at Eastman. This is my third council orientation. I've been here just about 2.5 years, and really enjoy spending time with the community members, including orientations like this, because it does give folks an opportunity to ask questions, and there's good interaction, and helps everybody kind of understand the importance of what the council does and your role in the council, and kind of how you fit within the governance structure within Eastman. So with that, I'm going to let Judy Dixon introduce herself and run us through the first couple slides.
Okay. So I'm the brand new council chair. I just got elected in September. I've been in the Eastman community since 2018 when I retired, moved from someplace else like most of us did. And I moved here for the winter, not for the summer. So although I enjoy the summer, I'm here for the snow. So I'm a little weird, but you know, bear with me. Okay. I'm trying hard to learn my job. I have done a lot of studying in the last 2 months and met with a whole lot of people, and I want to continue to do that. My theory on the council is that I have an open door. So, you know, email me, call me, whatever. I'm happy. We're not a military organization, a hierarchy where you have to check with your immediate superior for some reason in order to get some answers. I certainly don't know everything, but I'm learning where to go to get the answers, and I'll be happy to help you or any member in your special place to try to find the resources they need to get the answers they need. So I'm looking forward to serving. I have a 2-year term. You'll probably be real glad to get rid of me at the end. But so far, I'm enjoying myself. I'm having a good time, and I'm learning a lot of new stuff. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in the future, here, there, and everywhere. And like I said, if you have an issue, call me. And I'm going to try to let you know over my term what some of the wonderful resources are that we have at Eastman. You may know them, you may not, but I just want to do my job of making sure that the direction and the flow of information is not simply from you and the complaints that people might have, but the positive aspects that Eastman has that I'm going to share with you over the next 2 years. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person at some moment in time in my term. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Judy. And so you can see, the council has 3 officers, Judy as the chair, Paul Nicolai as the vice chair, and Bruce Altabelli, who I think is with us today, as the secretary. Those 3 members, along with the council officers, and the chair is able to fill out the executive committee with a couple selections of their own. And as yet, Judy, if I'm correct, that hasn't been done. Still kind of working on filling out the rest of the executive committee.
Yes, still looking. Thank you.
Yeah. Here's our schedule for the upcoming year. Our first meeting isn't until the 28th. And you can see that 3 out of the 4 are currently planned to be remote through Zoom. The meeting in June, we are working towards having an in-person morning meeting, although in all likelihood, there'll still be some remote people that will still wish to participate. So the goal is to have as many people in the room as possible, but knowing that that just may not be a reality and we still want folks to participate, we'll have the remote option available. And as you can see by the notes, the council chair can call for other meetings. Certainly the council executive committee meets on a more regular basis, and as does the meetings with the special place chairs. So and so for the purposes of this, orientation means council members, and that includes alternates. So if you're attending and you're an alternate, everything that we're going to talk about today is going to include you as if you were an actual full council member, because the reality is at some point during your term, you will be asked to attend a meeting as a full council member. So here's my name again and all the wonderful titles that I have. The last one, council parliamentarian, is my favorite. That just means that I have a little bit more of an understanding of how meetings run and can make sure that we don't run off the rails when it comes to making sure that the proper motion was made, that it was seconded, that everybody was heard, that the vote was done properly. So there's a giant book here, Robert's Rules of Order. Let's see, this is the 3rd edition. I think there's another one out. There's only 387 pages in this one that kind of outline how a meeting should be run. So if anybody's interested, I think I have 6 or 7 extra copies of that book available if you need some riveting bedtime reading. So the purpose of the orientation, why are we really here? And it's there are a couple, oops, how do I go backwards? There we go. There we go. There are a couple reasons why we're here. To give you an overview of our governance, to review our documents and governing basics, your role in the council, information about our council proceedings, the Robert's Rules of Order, and then just some best practices. A lot of the work that we do within Eastman is based on our strategic plan. No successful organization operates for as long as we have been without having a really dynamic and active strategic plan. And the last one that was done was Plan 2030. And it really identifies, the core values of the community. You all have chosen to live here, so you understand and recognize what makes Eastman special as a community. It's the respect, the shared commitment that you have in sustaining this place. You can see all of these values kind of every day in how we work with one another and how we develop you know, our programming. It's really based on a lot of collaboration. You know, nothing gets done within Eastman without a very intense effort by the community members to make things happen. You know, we couldn't do what we do here without you know, the cooperation and the work done by people like yourselves in volunteering to be on the council. Our governance is interesting, and it is unique to Eastman. You know, there are certainly lots of community associations out there and homeowners associations. We're not unique in that respect, but because, you know, how we have developed our governance structure is unique in that we have, you know, property owners, and they have a voice kind of in two different paths. Your special place association, so whether it's Greensward or Springbrook or East Cove or North Cove, you know, that's the group that populates the council, and that's where you choose your council members. As a property owner, you also get to vote for the board, and you can kind of see the board and the council both have separate committees that respond, report to them. You know, the board is more of a day-to-day operations, and the council is more of the larger governance issues and the bigger topics. So, oh, we have a chat.
Oh,
Let's see here.
sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay.
I was just curious if your slides were going to be available later, so I didn't have to
Yes.
write this stuff all down.
No, absolutely. This is being
Okay.
recorded, but yeah, absolutely. We can make the slides available so that you
All right,
can
thanks.
see these. Just so you know, there are 50 plus of them. So yeah, here's you as property owners. And again, the committees are kind of split up. You know, the big ones for the council are, you know, finance and budget. Big one on the board is ECC. Those are really kind of the two ones that kind of touch our lives on a regular basis. But you know, you've got golf and woodlands and wildlife and lakes and streams and common properties. And you can kind of see how as a property owner, you really can be active at multiple levels. You know, as staff, we report directly to the board. Because the board is responsible for the day-to-day operations. The hierarchy of our governing documents, the Declaration of Covenants and Restrictions, it's commonly referred to as the DCR. This is our Constitution. This is our Bible. This is the thing that everything that we do is based on. We can't do anything unless the DCR says that we can. And it should have been made available to you when you purchased your property. It's part of your deed that you have, you know, this kind of DCR attached to your property, so that the next person that buys it understands that, yes, I'm buying into a community, and here are the governance and the documents that dictate how things get done. Beneath the DCR, you've got board and council and ECC bylaws, and each of those are established by the respective bodies. So the ECC is the East Environmental Control Committee. That's the group that it's really the only one that's identified in the DCR, and that's the group that helps property owners with projects within their own property. So I want to replace my roof, or I want to cut down a tree, or I'd like to build a garage. The ECC is the group that you will spend time with. So underneath the board and council and ECC bylaws are the special place bylaws, and each special place can have their own unique way of managing. Although there is a common core that we want everybody to have as part of their bylaws, so that there is some consistency. There's a base level that everybody has to adhere to, but some special places are large, Greensward and West Cove, where you've got 15, 16 plus council reps and 100 plus homes. And some of them are fairly small, where you've only got 2 or 3 council reps and maybe just a couple dozen homes. And so the bylaws are different to account for those variances. Underneath that are board policies and rules and regs. The board has its own policies that they use to help them manage the community. One of those board policies that was just changed, just to give you an example, was with regards to an operating reserve. So from time to time, Eastman has built up in excess of funding. We've budgeted our amount and we exceeded it, and so we have extra money, and so it sits in the operating reserve. There's a board policy that guides the board and dictates what they're supposed to do with those funds. And if it gets above a certain level, for example, that money has to be shared or distributed in a certain way. And so the policies are very kind of, this is more of the cookbook, if you will, and they guide the board. There's a board policy on privacy. There's a board policy on social media. So the board policies are specific to the board, but they have a big role in how we operate. And then the final are the committee charters and charges. So each committee, and I think we've got over 20 of them, has their own unique charter, right? So gardens and grounds, common properties, golf committee, they have a specific kind of mission statement, and their charter outlines, how, whether or not they have, an executive group. So for the golf committee, there's a chair of it and a vice chair and a secretary. And it tells, what their roles are and how they're supposed to operate. Voting, very similar to, board and council bylaws, but the charters are different for each committee because they do different things. Let's see here. So this gives you just a little bit more of what the board has. They, their main task is the fiduciary responsibility for the association, right? So making sure that the money that is assessed is spent the way it's supposed to be, that we are not, that we're operating in a proper manner, that we're doing things legally. And the board, that's their number one power and goal, if you will. And so, the rest of the slide gives you just an example in the DCR, just some general language. There's nothing extraordinary about what this example is. It's just the powers that aren't given to the owners of special place are the responsibility of the board. That's what this example is supposed to demonstrate. The council, they're the kind of the overarching, they handle the big items. They're not involved with the day-to-day. So they oversee the elections of board members. The council has the ability to actually remove board members, and there's a process identified. The council can appoint committees, propose amendments to the DCR. That's really in your term with the council, those are going to be your most important votes, and they don't happen all that often. But it is and there's a very defined process identified for how the DCR gets amended. It usually takes about a year from when an issue is discussed to when it's actually voted on finally by the council and then adopted by the board. So it's not something that gets done quickly, and it shouldn't, because this is, changes to the DCR should take a while and should have a lot of steps to it. And so, as community members, in my 3 years here, I think we've amended the DCR 3 times. And those votes have to go back, we have to go back to the special place and to the community. And, there are lots of steps involved with amending the DCR. And then your last kind of big responsibility is financial. So any big borrowing that we do, the council has to approve any special assessment that we're asking for. And that includes an increase above what the DCR allows for the operating assessment. So right now, we are allowed to propose an increase to the operating assessment that's equal to CPI plus 2%. So right now CPI is at 7. So we could, without any other input or interaction with the council or the board, propose a budget that's 9%. If we wanted to go above that, we'd have to come to the council. And that's, just for your own peace of mind, we're not proposing to go anywhere near 9% or above 9% this year on our assessments, but there have been occasions when this has been a request made to the council. I think the last one may have been in 2019. And I think we went 2%, in 2019 CPI was low. And so it may have been, we needed to go to 3% as a increase to the operating assessment. And that was approved. Oops, went a little too fast there. So you have your own rights. Oh, I need to go back one more. There we go. So as a property owner, you have the ability to is this a new chat? Oh, CPI. What is CPI? That is the consumer price index. That is inflation for, what's the rate of inflation? Oh man, my mouse is extra touchy today. So you'll see CPI kind of used, either on the news or in the newspapers. That's just, it's inflation. So you have a couple different ways that you can vote. Certainly your special place, in your meetings, that's where you vote for your council members. Anything that affects the special place itself, it's really where, as a neighborhood, you decide, does this make the most sense for, Burpee Hill or Bright Slope, or Deer Yard? That's where really those conversations, whether it's a DCR amendment or it's a borrowing. I know that when the building I'm in now, the center, that was not a positive time within the community, but a lot of those conversations happened at the special place, and the special place is really where you can have, that back and forth amongst yourselves and decide whether or not, as a neighborhood, as a special place, it makes the most sense for whatever action is being asked. As we said before, the council, it has the right to remove board members. It's a it takes extraordinary action to do that. You know, a lot of the really big actions by the council require a 2/3 approval, and that's a high number to achieve. As a former town manager next door in Enfield at our town meetings, and really the council is the equivalent of a town meeting, if you kind of think of it in those terms. You know, getting 2/3 of 100 people to agree on anything is difficult. So, and it's proper, I think, in what we ask of the council with respect to 2/3. So if we need to amend the DCR, that requires a 2/3 vote. If we want to propose a special assessment, that requires a 2/3. You know, those are, if we want to change the bylaws of the council, that requires a 2/3 vote. Those are big, important, impactful votes, and it should have an overwhelming majority of the group support it before we move forward. It shouldn't be a 51-50 or a 50-49 vote. It should not be that. That's not how you know, a community should be managed, where, you know, by one vote majorities. It's just not sustainable, and it doesn't promote kind of a positive community. So, you know, in terms of more responsibilities within the DCR, you know, the council officers are elected every 2 years. As I said, we've got a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. And then this gives you kind of the composition of the executive committee. You know, 2 other council members can be a part of the executive committee. And as Judy said, we still have some openings there. You have the ability to remove directors, so members of the board. And again, that's an extraordinary vote. And so you can have, it needs 2/3 vote by the council to accomplish that. And the DCR is very clear and detailed in the process that needs to be followed. And that's what this slide shares with you. You know, it doesn't have to, you know, it can come from the community. I guess the other main takeaway from this slide is that if 1/3 of the council members want this vote to occur, they can gather the signatures and make that and push that to be an agenda item at the next council meeting. So, you know, I don't know that it's happened in recent memory that the council has removed a board member, but there needs to be that check and balance within our governance, so that you're not stuck with a board member for a 3-year term if they are not acting appropriately, right? There should be some function, and the council has that authority within our DCR. We talked about this already. If we borrow money, any increases in assessments, this is again a responsibility of the council. You know, the capital expenditures, you know, so when we build a new building, you know, we just built that bridge on Cove Drive this year. You know, all of that gets reviewed by the Capital Improvements Committee, which is a board committee, but it also gets reviewed by Finance and Budget, and ultimately it's Finance and Budget that proposes budgets for the board to approve. And so that's where, you know, the council has some role. In my term, we have not come to the council yet for any capital expenditures, because we haven't needed to borrow, and we don't anticipate our borrowing capacity is really kind of, we're at a point where we don't anticipate any future borrowing for the next 5 or 6 years, just because we've got South Cove, the maintenance building, and the center. Those are 3 long-term notes that are on the books, and we're not anticipating anything major coming up. Let's see here. Ooh. So other responsibilities, you can change and adopt bylaws, and we have, that's something that we've got in place. This just gives you kind of when your term starts, and so you all, your term begins in September after the annual meeting. The bylaws identify the officers, what the role of the officers are. The chair is really the person that runs the meetings, in consultation with the executive committee. The chair helps prepare the agenda for the council meeting. The chair and the executive committee meets with the special place chairs on a regular basis. The vice chair is there in case the chair is unable to attend. The secretary is there to record the meeting, although we do have staff available to take the minutes. So the secretary, their main task is handled by staff, but in case that can't happen, we've got an officer identified. We've talked about the executive committee already. That's the group that not only sets the agenda for the council meetings, but this is the group that provides the oversight of the special place governance. So, we just had a recent round of Common Core approvals and adjustments by each special place, and it was the executive committee that provided oversight for that process. Tom Hull, who just stepped down from the executive committee, was responsible for making sure that the language was appropriate, that the votes taken by each special place were recorded and done properly. That's not something that we do all that often. It is identified in the bylaws in terms of the frequency with which it needs to happen. And so we've got some time before we have to amend our Common Core again, but it's the executive committee that provides the oversight. On the occasion that a special place struggles to find leadership, it's the executive committee that will step in and work with the special place to identify interim leadership until the special place can take the votes necessary to install, the next leadership. So, and that happens on occasion, especially in our smaller special places when it's difficult, as we all know, busy people are busy for a reason, and we typically get the same group that will run or manage a special place for years and years and years. And when they say, I'm done with it, there's a void there. And that's happened on occasion where, the executive committee has had to step in and help a special place fill that void. It's not common, but it occurs, and we've got a process for that to follow. So this gives you kind of what the committees that report to the council, their main priorities and focus. So governance. So we've got a governance and bylaws committee. So anytime a DCR change is proposed, there's the covenants and bylaws group will review the language, make sure that it's legal, make adjustments if necessary, and it's part of the DCR amendment process is that covenants and bylaws gets the language and has to make sure that that what we're asking or proposing to do is actually legal and to put the words in a legal way. So to no surprise, that group is typically filled with lawyers. And we've got some folks that are within the community that are attorneys, and they've volunteered their time. You know, the nominating group, that's the group that helps identify board members and or potential council leadership. We've got the elections. That's the group that oversees the elections of the board. Finance and budget, we've talked about, and the other committees that we have within Eastman. Any questions on kind of the responsibilities and or functions of the council? I know this goes very quickly, and again, you can have all of these slides shared with you. Okay, and not seeing any, I'll kind of continue on. The process, oops. Oh, there we go. The process and the procedure of a meeting, and it can be strange, and it may not feel natural when you first attend a meeting. You know, there's a lot of phrases and terms that we use, and quorum and points of order and motions and seconds, and you know, all those things aren't part of our normal day-to-day lives. And it's the chair who kind of manages the meeting and facilitates the discussions. So they determine that we have a quorum, and a quorum is just we have to have a minimum number of people attending. A majority of the council have to attend to make sure that we can actually conduct business. If we don't have a quorum, then we can't take action. And so we can't pass motions, we can't approve things. You can't do anything unless you've got a quorum. The council, you know, facilitates the discussions, recognizes speakers, determines if the motion is proper, maintains order. You know, with a group the size of the council, and especially through Zoom, it can be challenging, and we've seen that in kind of a few of our meetings. But you know, I think we've figured out how to manage the conversations, if you will, through Zoom. And as people have gotten more comfortable with Zoom, whether we do it through chat or through the Q&A, there are functions and ways in which council members can ask questions, make motions, and insert themselves into conversations. So the rest of the slide just kind of shares with you know, kind of how and what other functions the council chair has during the meeting. There's that wonderful book, Robert's Rules of Order, and it's really used, you know, this has been my career, so I know these rules fairly well, but it's, you know, it's used in all kinds of different formats and places. And it really just sets up a very defined process on how a meeting is run, and it ensures that we are doing things properly, that everybody has a right to speak and vote, that the motions are worded in the way they should be, that we're adhering to parliamentary procedure. It's a very kind of fundamental way of how we manage our council meetings and board meetings. You know, the basic rules of Robert's rules is that you do one thing at a time. And so, you know, the first action of a council is to approve the agenda, right? And so that's the first thing you do. You know, someone will make the motion to approve the agenda. Somebody will second the agenda, the motion. People can speak. One person at a time will speak to, if needed, on the particular item. The chair will make sure that people aren't, someone isn't talking about something not related to the motion, and to also make sure that that everybody has a chance to speak before someone else chimes in, before someone gets to speak twice. Looks like we have another chat. So just, there was a question of how often does the council meet but not have a quorum? I think that was more common pre-Zoom. I think there were difficulties getting people in the room, especially, you know, in the wintertime when so many of our council community members aren't in Eastman. So, you know, the January meeting and times that the April meeting. April, by the way, is the time of year when Eastman is at its quietest, because there's no snow and golf isn't open yet, right? And so that's the time when pretty much, you know, the lake is too cool or still has ice on it, and so that's the time when we're at our fewest people here, and that's really when I think folks have struggled to obtain a quorum. But with, you know, the use of Zoom, we haven't had the issue with a quorum meeting our quorum at all, which is a good thing. You know, the other things that Robert's rules do is that it promotes courtesy. It keeps the discussions just to the issues, and it attempts to kind of remove kind of the personalities or particular motives that somebody may have. You know, it's very clear, and as a council member, you know, you have a role within Robert's rules as well. It's not just the chair that that has the only kind of voice in Robert's rules. You know, point of order is a frequent phrase that's used by council members. If a council member believes that you know, the discussion is not pertinent, you know, they can you know, share point of order. Madam Chair, this doesn't pertain. You know, council members make the motions. So, you know, Robert's rules does a good job, especially with a group our size, in helping us kind of maintain order. This just gives you, you know, these are just some common sense rules that are part of Robert's rules. You know, the chair's role, making sure that all sides are heard, that the rules of debate are carefully followed. The chair is not supposed to take sides in the debate. Their job is really to facilitate the conversation. So, you know, making a motion is one of the main functions of the meetings. We really can't take any action unless a motion is made. What we've done to kind of ease the confusion at meetings is have, you know, on those actions that we know are going to be necessary, you know, approving minutes, closing the meeting, so adjourning, approving the agenda. We've identified in advance people to make the motion and to second the motion, so that, you know, we don't have 67 people doing it all at once or twice. So, you know, we've actually provided language. So if somebody needs to make the motion to approve the agenda, it'll say, I, you know, Steve Schneider, move to approve the council January 29th agenda. And then someone else will second it, and then they identify themselves in the special place. you know, with a motion as simple as approving the agenda, you know, there's really not going to be a lot of discussion. But the person that does make the motion has the opportunity to speak first, and the privilege to speak last. We haven't had a ton of opportunities where this has been a reality, but there will be times during your tenure as a council member where, you know, there will be some fairly rigorous conversation amongst council members. Yeah, so another chat. Yep, so Enid shares that on Zoom you can certainly name yourself and then also put your special place on their name tag. And you'll hear the more experienced council members, they'll say, you know, I'm Judy Dixon representing South Cove, or I'm Steve Schneider and I represent Burpee Hill. So that's how folks should identify themselves when you make a motion. You can amend a motion. This is where it gets tricky, and Robert's rules really is very useful. Pardon me. So somebody wants to alter the motion. You have to have, again, it's somebody that says, I move to amend the motion. And again, you need somebody to second it. The amendment is debated and is voted on. And if the vote is to the positive, if most folks approve it, then there's a new motion that the entire council will then approve, right? So it can get tricky. I've seen times when amendments to amendments can be discussed, and then it gets really ugly. And I don't recommend, and you'll hear me kind of chime in if somebody starts to propose amendments to amendments. It is allowed by Robert's rules, but I wouldn't recommend going down that path because it gets confusing, and especially with a group this size. Not everybody processes and understands and reads and listens at the same pace. And so you could have somebody thinking that, that we're talking about an amendment when somebody else has already proposed an amendment to that amendment. It gets really tricky, and it's not something that I've seen done very successfully. And you'll hear me from time to time chime in on stuff like that as the parliamentarian. You can table a motion, and that occurs every once in a while. If and again, it's I move to table, and the tabling is really, you know what, we don't have enough information to make a good decision yet, and so we need to research this, and we'll come back. And so the motion to table should have a, you know, I move to table it until the next council meeting, and so we would include that date within that, and it would be automatically on the next agenda for the group to review. You can take something off the table as well. You can make a motion to take something off the table at a meeting if you so choose. And it follows the same kind of process. I make a motion to table, I make a motion to take something off the table. But really tabling just kind of pushes pause on the particular issue. Did I go too fast? There we go. Point of order. Again, this is something that you'll hear from time to time in the meeting. A council member feels as if for whatever reason that either the conversation is about something that's not related to the particular motion, and a council member say, I raise a point of order. The chair recognizes that there's no debate, and then the chair will decide whether or not you know, whatever that point is yes or no, and then the council itself can appeal the vote or the decision by the chair on that particular vote. As the last bullet says, there is a cheat sheet that we include in every agenda package that kind of gives you really the main votes that you're going to ever encounter within a typical meeting. The council bylaws identifies, how voting occurs. It's typically by voice, or by show of hands. That's when we're in person. Through Zoom, we've been using polling, and that's been very effective. There are those votes that require 2/3 majority, and the bylaws identify a process and what needs to occur. We need to know how each council member votes so that can be shared with your special place. Typically your special place is supposed to inform council members how they are to vote on specific things. And that action by the council member has to be shared with the special place, and, just to make sure that those council members are following the special place's wishes. So again, we've got 2/3 that's done by written or electronic ballot. It's interesting through Zoom. Zoom is great for ensuring that we get people to participate, but it's difficult to comply with, this written or electronic ballot and making sure that each council member's vote is recorded. That's become a little more challenging, and it's something that continues to evolve. The previous council chair's spouse wrote a program that was able to achieve this in real time. Otherwise, we would have to kind of put pause on the meeting and review votes through the Zoom reports, which wouldn't be fun. So, as I said, it's something that continues to evolve. Here's a typical council agenda. The call to order, which is just the start of the meeting, approving the agenda, which we've talked about. Open forum is really, it's open to any owner that's there to address the council. The board has a similar open forum at the beginning, at the end of the meeting, as does the council. It's really just opportunities for community members to share on a particular item that they're concerned about. So at the last board meeting, we spent probably 20 minutes talking about bears with community members. And this is not a time for there to be a conversation back and forth between the council or the board and the community. It's really just kind of a one-way conversation where the owner is just sharing. Occasionally there'll be some back and forth, but that's not what this is about. This is just, hey, I've got a concern, or hey, is the council going to do something about this? Usually it's noted. Well, it's not usually. It's noted. It's documented. If there's a question, it's up to the council and staff to the council executive committee and the staff to address the concern and then respond if needed. Approval of minutes, just making sure that what was said and shared at the previous meeting, that it's accurate and reflects what actually occurred. The approval of that occurs at the next meeting. So that's usually not a major discussion point. And then there's a series of reports that happen at each council meeting: council chair, board president, and GM. any old business things that get carried over. So this is where tabled items would show up. So we tabled something at a previous meeting. Okay, it gets back, and this is where you would see it under old business. New business is just what it sounds like. It's new things to be considered by the council. And then the council committee reports. Each committee has an opportunity to share a report at every council meeting. Those typically aren't read or really reviewed at the council meeting. They're just included in the council packet. Again, there's the open forum, and then finally the adjournment, which is when we can leave. Let's see here. So the attendance and vote are required, are recorded and reported through the minutes. The council, again, this is a special meeting of the council. The councils can, we can call a special meeting, either something that the executive committee does, or it's something that the council itself can do. So if a third of the members of the council say, you know what, we really need to, there's an issue that we really need to deal with, and we're requiring the council to have a special meeting. So we've got a question about how long do council meetings last? It's an excellent question. I have, in my tenure here, they are an hour to an hour and a half. In the past, they have gone multiple hours, but that's only when there's extraordinary action that needs to be taken by the council. When we're going to vote on a borrowing, and there's a lot of debate that occurs within the council and the community. Typically, the meetings, though, don't last typically all that long, and I think Zoom has also shortened the meetings for whatever reason. So there is a process, though. Here it is, if there is a need for an additional meeting. Any questions on kind of the process of meetings and the expectations of council members, and what you need to do, and what the expectations are of your participation at a council meeting? Okay, that's fine. I mean, I am going on the quick side here. And some of this language is unique to kind of, Eastman, but a lot of it is just kind of standard how meetings are conducted, through Robert's rules. So the next part is just kind of the best practices, what you can do to really prepare yourself for the council meeting so that you are representing your special place the best way you can. So study all the materials. We've got, you're never going to go to a meeting and not have information available to you. Whether it's just the council packet itself, or there's information that's on our member portal. It's all there. You want to spend some time looking at the DCR. It's on our member portal. You want to dig in on council bylaws because you've got some questions on just the council process and what has to happen. It's in there. You want to spend a little time researching what Woodlands and Wildlife is doing, and how they may, there may be a time when they're presenting something to the council, and you want to review what's going on with that committee. All that information is on the portal. Attending open forums, we've spent a lot of time over the last year or so developing and working really hard on the recreation task force, and they've had a multitude of community forums. And recreation is one of those committees that reports to the council. And so they have reported from time to time at this group and have had a lot of different community forums. The Forest Working Group last year had a lot of open forums that were very well attended. And it's just a way as a council member, you can be connected to the community and understand what's happening. Any workshops that the council may have, just attending those is great. Really making sure that you are connected to your special place and your votes reflect the wishes of the special place. And you can, as this says, attend your special place meetings, obviously, but also if there's a particular item that you need more information on, encourage your special place to conduct polls and really kind of dig in and find out if the direction that the special place wants to go is supported by the special place membership. Again, some more best practices here. Have the conversations with the council reps, maintain open and honest communications with your special place chair and the members of the special place. And then if you need information, I'm always available. Staff are here to assist and make sure that you have everything you need so that when you're ready to make a vote or a decision, you've got all the stuff that you need so that you feel comfortable voting. And it's different for each council member. There are some council members that need a lot of information before they're comfortable making a decision. And there are others that don't, and that's fine. But we're here and available to provide and share with you everything we've got available so that you feel the most comfortable when you are ready to vote. Judy, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that this year, because of the requirements of our meeting and our remote meetings and needing to vote remotely, we're going to be asking you to sign up a little bit early before the meeting, letting your special chair know by Wednesday before the meeting that you're going to attend, so that they can choose alternates if they need to. And also so that your special chair can report in that you're going to be a voting member at the upcoming meeting. So we can enter your name and make sure that you're going to be on the voting list for whatever votes we may have to hold. So instead of waiting until just showing up on Saturday morning, we're going to be asking you to let your special chair know by Wednesday that you're going to attend or that you need an alternate to sub for you. So I'm thanking you very much in advance for this new special procedure, but hoping it won't be too much of a problem for you because it will help us in terms of the electronic voting that needs to take place at the meeting. Thanks.
Yeah. And that'll be communicated again so that you don't have to just remember it right now. So, the best practices here, we're here to support you so that you can make, the decision that you feel the most comfortable with. And then these are the resources that are available to you all. Certainly, you all should be comfortable accessing and gaining entrance into the member side of our website. If you still haven't logged in yet, let us know and we can walk you through that. But that's really where, all of the data and information you're going to need is right there on our portal. It may be hidden, and that's maybe one of the reasons why you reach out to us is, where do I find this? And we can walk you through as to where it is. But it should be all right there. I think Eastman does a really good job of sharing information on a regular basis with the community, whether it's through highlights or news and notes, notes from the board. You'll see quarterly whether it could be just information that comes from a special announcement that comes from myself or the board president or the council chair. You'll see that it'll either go directly to your email, or it'll be part of, when you first log in at on the member portal. We've worked hard to do things electronically, and that was one of the big votes that was taken by the council and the community lately, is to amend our DCR to allow for a lot of information to be shared with the community electronically, but occasionally there will be things that come through the mail. And so just be on the lookout of those things. What you have here is my email address. That comes right to my box. So steve@eastmannh.org. Feel free to use that at any time. The other email that gets reviewed and seen on a daily basis is the admin@eastmannh.org. That will be reviewed, and you'll get responded to either from myself or Lori McClory. She's the one that monitors the admin email account. And then certainly through, give us a call if you need to. We are here to support you. And then as part of this slideshow, we've got some links to the DCR, the council bylaws, and then the individual pages for each special place. And then also there's a Plan 2030 that we talked about at the beginning. And then we've got a new How Eastman Finances Work YouTube video that you can watch and help you unravel kind of the mystery of how we make our sausage here for our finances. So that's it. I'm going to stop sharing. And if there are questions or comments from anyone here, happy to answer them. And I really appreciate you all taking the time today. The council fills a crucial and critical role within our governance structure. It's a quarterly attendance, so it's not too much of a burden, and it's really a good way to kind of take that first step in governance within the community. And there are a lot of folks that started out as a council member that went on to either become committee chairs or felt like, maybe I should, or committee members and or board members as well. So I'll stop talking unless there's a question or two that I can answer. Okay. Thanks everybody for attending this morning. Have a great upcoming holiday, and we'll see you all real soon.